Have you ever looked at your calendar, your bank account, your grocery bill, your gas tank, your emotional capacity, and thought, how are we supposed to keep doing this? Parenting a neurodivergent child, a child with ADHD, DMDD, autism, emotional dysregulation, meltdowns, or challenging behaviors, does not just affect your parenting style. It can actually affect your money, your marriage, your career, your health, your other children, your schedule, and even your perception of yourself. Today, we're talking about the hidden costs so many families are carrying quietly and why investing in support for your child, your family, and yes, even yourself is not selfish. Ever feel like one meltdown turns your day upside down? Are you walking on eggshells with emotions and challenging behaviors? Need peace in your home? You're in the right place. I'm Jamie, mom of 7, professional counselor and parent coach. I've learned how to turn chaos into calm, stop meltdowns, and enjoy time as a family. If you're looking for effective tools, practical ways to connect with your uniquely wired child, and parenting tools that align with faith and family values, you've found it. So reheat that coffee, start that laundry fluffing again, and let's jump in. Welcome back to the Calm Connection Parenting Podcast. Today, we're talking about something that I think so many parents feel, but they might struggle to name: the hidden costs of parenting a neurodivergent child. Maybe a child with ADHD, autism, DMDD, emotional dysregulation, meltdowns, challenging behaviors. It comes in various ways. This episode is not meant to discourage you. It's not meant to make your child sound like a burden, because they're not. And it's definitely not meant to suggest that neurodivergence is something that needs to be fixed, because it doesn't. But it is meant to tell the truth about what many families are carrying. Because if we never name the costs, if we don't talk about the struggle, we can start to believe that the exhaustion is somehow our fault. We can think we are bad with money, bad at managing time, bad at keeping up, bad at parenting, or just bad at holding it all together. Recently, I read an article by Bryce Hildreth, a licensed counselor or social worker, and this article was called The Hidden Costs of Neurodivergence. And I thought, yes, this is what so many families are living. The article talked about the way neurodivergence changes the math of family life. And that phrase really stood out to me because that is exactly what happens. It changes the math. It changes the calendar. It changes the budget. It changes the energy level in your home. It changes how you make decisions, where you go, what you say yes to, what you have to say no to, and how much capacity is left at the end of your day. And here is why I think this matters so much. When parents are already paying so much in time, money, energy, attention, emotional capacity, and problem solving, seeking help can sometimes feel like just one more cost. Investing in counseling or parent support can feel hard. Investing in a coaching program can feel hard. Even investing in something restorative for yourself, like a retreat, can feel hard. But I want to gently explore today is this: what if the investment is not selfish? What if support is actually part of improving the situation for your child, your family, and the needs that you're trying so hard to meet? Because sometimes the question is not, can I afford to get support? Sometimes the question is, what is it already costing us to keep doing this alone? And even in some cases, can we afford not to get support? I want to cover 3 important things today. First of all, some costs show up on paper, but others are paid quietly every day. So let's start with the obvious costs because those are usually the easiest to explain. When you're parenting a child with ADHD, autism, DMDD, emotional dysregulation, sensory needs, learning struggles, challenging behaviors, there are often costs that show up very plainly on paper. Evaluations, therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, counseling, medication, supplements, doctor's appointments, testing, educational support, tutoring, IEP advocates, special programs, parent coaching, books, courses, tools, appointments that insurance may or may not cover. And those numbers can be significant. A Florida International University study found that raising a child with ADHD may cost families around 5 times more than raising a child without ADHD, when researchers included social, behavioral, and academic difficulties as part of the family burden. Some summaries of that research cite costs of about $15,000 per child with ADHD compared to about $2,850 for children without ADHD, not even including all treatment costs. And for autism, recent reporting found that families with a child receiving treatment for autism averaged about $20,000 in total healthcare expenditures, compared to about $2,200 for children without treated autism. Those are big numbers. And if you're listening while folding laundry, driving in the car, or making dinner, you may be thinking, yes, that sounds about right. Because when you are living it, you know those costs are not abstract. They show up in very real ways in real life. They show up when the therapy bill comes. They show up when insurance denies something that you thought would be covered. They show up when the school says they can provide support, but then you realize your child needs something more specific than what the school is offering. They show up when you're paying for another evaluation because you need more answers. They show up when you're buying tools that your child actually needs just to get through the day. But the costs on paper are only part of the story because there are also the hidden daily costs. And honestly, those are often the ones that make parents feel like they are slowly being drained. It's the broken remote, the cracked tablet, the hole in the wall, the 3 lost and replaced coats each winter, the water bottle that somehow disappears every other week, the lunchbox left behind again, the shoes or other clothing that have to be replaced because they can't tolerate the seam or the fit or the texture anymore. The special pencils, grips, fidgets, chewies, sensory toys, weighted blanket, noise-canceling headphones, and specific socks because the regular ones only lead to a morning meltdown. It might be the extra snacks because we all know that hunger changes everything. It's the very specific foods because sensory needs or restricted eating make meals so much more complicated. It might be the grocery bill that keeps climbing because easy food is not always easy in your house. It might be packing lunches around school rules, allergy rules, texture preferences, protein needs, and what your child can actually tolerate to get food in their system. It might be paying for an activity, but then having to leave early. It might be signing up for the thing because your child wants so bad to have the experience, but then getting there and realizing the environment is too loud, too chaotic, too unpredictable, or simply just too much for them that day. It might be the gas money for appointments, the time off work, the takeout after a day that fell apart because you just didn't have the energy to cook. It might be the babysitter who needs extra explanation, or maybe it's the lack of a babysitter because not everyone can safely or confidently care for your child and their unique needs. And here is where it can be so hard about those hidden daily costs. Sometimes they come with shame. Parents might think, why can't we keep track of things better? Why does everything get broken? Why is our grocery bill so high? Why do we keep spending money on things other families do not seem to need? But when you step back and look at the bigger picture, many of these costs aren't just random. They're part of the support system your child needs. They're part of the way your family is trying to adapt. They're part of the price of living in a world that is not always designed for your child's nervous system, sensory needs, executive function struggles, emotional intensity, or their developmental needs. So if your family budget feels different than someone else's, it may not be because you're careless. It might simply be because your family is carrying needs that other people do not see or experience themselves. The second thing is this: the hidden costs are not only financial. They affect time, careers, relationships, siblings, and even your health. So let's talk about the costs that are even harder to measure, because not everything shows up as a bill. Sometimes the cost is time. Sometimes it's opportunity. Sometimes emotional energy, or the way family life starts to bend around the needs of one child, even when you know everyone in the family matters deeply. For some families, a parent has to step back from work, maybe reduce hours. Maybe they turn down promotions or choose a more flexible job that pays less. Many parents have to stop working altogether for a season because the therapy appointments, the school meetings, the meltdowns, the phone calls, advocacy, pickups, or just those unpredictable issues simply cannot be managed any other way. And taking care of a high-need child can feel like a full-time job. And I want you to be clear. Sometimes that decision is made with love and intention, but that doesn't mean it's without cost. Lost income can matter. Lost retirement contributions can matter. Lost career momentum can matter. The emotional weight of stepping away from something you cared about matters too. And it can be complicated to love your child so deeply and yet still grieve certain parts of your life that had to change. Sometimes the cost shows up in marriage or family dynamics. One parent may take on more work outside the home while the other manages more of the day-to-day care. One parent may become the default advocate, researcher, appointment scheduler, school communicator, behavior decoder, and maybe even an emotional shock absorber. And if couples are not careful, resentment can grow. Not because they do not love each other, but because the load is heavy and someone is almost always carrying more than can be seen from the outside. Sometimes that cost shows up with siblings. Maybe one parent takes the child who is struggling home early, while the other stays so the siblings can finish the activity. Maybe vacations are shortened, adjusted, canceled, or never even a possibility. Maybe siblings learn to be flexible in ways they shouldn't always have to be. Maybe they get less attention because one child's needs are louder, more urgent, or more disruptive in the moment. And let's admit it, that can be painful as a parent who loves all of their children and are trying so hard to be fair, present, and connected. Sometimes the cost shows up socially. Many families stop accepting invitations because the logistics are just too hard, too heavy. You may want to go to the cookout, the birthday party, the church event, the school gathering, the neighborhood activity. But you also know what it could take to get through it. You're thinking about the noise, the food, the transitions, the expectations, the judgment, bathrooms, escape plans, sibling disappointment, bedtime fallout, and whether you even have the capacity to manage one more public moment where your child or your parenting is misunderstood by those who are watching and, unfortunately, sometimes judging. And sometimes that cost shows up in your body. The stress becomes headaches, stomach issues, trouble sleeping, anxiety, irritability, high blood pressure, emotional eating, exhaustion, or that constant feeling of just being on high alert, hypervigilance. You may not even realize how much your body has been carrying until you finally get that quiet moment and feel how tired you really are. This is part of what I want parents to understand. You're not just tired because parenting is busy. You may be tired because your family has been paying hidden costs every single day. You're not imagining it. You're not being dramatic. You're not weak. You're simply carrying a load when you have a neurodivergent child that is heavier than most people realize. And this is where compassion really matters. Because when we do not name the cost, we often blame the parent. We say things to ourselves like, I should be able to manage this better. I should be more organized. I should be more patient. I should be able to do all the things these other families are doing. But what if the issue is not that you are failing? What if the issue is that the load is actually really heavy? Now, I want to take a little break here because this feels like a great place for me to pause for just a minute, because this is one of the reasons I created the Moms Retreat. It is finding your calm in the chaos. That's right, Calm Connection Parenting's first Moms Retreat. Not because moms need one more thing on the calendar, not because you need another assignment checklist or another event where you have to show up polished and all put together, but because sometimes the mom who's holding so much together needs a place where she does not have to hold everything together for a little while. The Moms Retreat, it is Finding Your Calm in the Chaos, is happening August 27th through the 31st in Loveland, Colorado. You arrive on Thursday night, you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday together. You can leave late Sunday night or early Monday morning. And yes, Loveland, Colorado, isn't that just the sweetest place for a retreat designed to help moms feel seen, encouraged, and cared for? This retreat is for moms raising emotionally intense, uniquely wired, neurodivergent, or struggling children. Moms who love their families deeply but feel tired from constantly navigating the big emotions, the difficult behaviors, school concerns, appointments, decisions, and the daily weight of holding so much together. This is going to be a small, personal, warm, and restorative time together. We're going to have time for encouragement, connection, reflection, practical tools, meaningful conversations, rest, because we all need that. Plenty of laughter and some really special care-filled moments too. Your registration includes lodging, meals, and activity costs, so you do not have to figure out all the little details. Early bird pricing and payment plans are available, and there's also a scholarship application if you'd like to be considered. There are only 10 spots still open, and because this retreat is intentionally small, those spots really will go quickly. If your heart is saying, oh, I think I need this, please do not talk yourself out of it. So at least go and take a look. You can find the details and apply for a possible scholarship or register at calmconnectionparent.com/retreat 2026. Again, that's calmconnectionparent.com retreat 2026. This is not about escaping your life or your family. It's about stepping away long enough to breathe, be encouraged, reconnect with yourself, and come home with a little more clarity, calm, and hope. And I have to tell you, I would just really like the chance to get to know you and spend time together with you in this way. And all of this leads us to our third and final point. Investing in support is not selfish. It may be part of changing the cost. So let's bring this full circle, because when we talk about the hidden costs of raising a neurodivergent child with those big emotions and challenging behaviors, it can bring up a really tender question. If we're already spending so much, how do we justify spending more on support? And I have to tell you, I understand that. I really do. Because when your family is already paying for the therapies, the tools, the appointments, evaluations, replacement items, special foods, gas, and all the extras, it can feel hard to invest in one more thing. It can feel hard to pay for coaching. It can feel hard to pay for counseling. It can feel hard to invest in any kind of program. It can be hard to invest in something that supports you as the parent. But here is the mental shift or reframe I want you to consider. Support is not just another expense when it helps reduce the cost of continuing in crisis mode. I'm going to say that again because it's so important. Support is not just another expense when it helps reduce the cost of continuing in crisis mode. Now, that does not mean every program is right for every family. It does not mean every resource is worth the money. It does not mean you should stretch your family beyond wisdom. But it does mean that investing in the right support can be part of caring for your child, your family, and you as well. Because when parents get the right support, they can often stop chasing solutions that don't fit. They can understand what is behind the behavior more clearly. They can respond with more confidence. They can advocate with more clarity. They can make better decisions about what their child actually needs. They can stop pouring so much time, effort, and energy into strategies that were never designed for their child in the first place. And when parents are supported, the whole family can feel the difference. Not because everything turns perfect overnight. Not because meltdowns just magically disappear. Not because there are no more hard days, but because the parent is not carrying it alone anymore or using tools that simply won't work. This is especially important for moms because moms often put themselves last. A mom will fight to get her child to therapy, spend money on the evaluation, buy the sensory tools, drive to the appointment, research the school options, and adjust her schedule. She'll advocate, explain, repair, and keep showing up. But when it comes to support for herself, she may say, I just can't justify that. And I want to gently challenge that because your care is not separate from your child's care. Your support is not unrelated to your child's progress. And your capacity truly affects the tone of your home. Your clarity affects your decision making. Your calm affects the way you respond. Your health affects the whole family system. So no, investing in support for yourself is not selfish. It may be one of the ways you help improve the situation for your child, for your family, and for yourself. Because you are part of the family too. Your needs matter too. Your exhaustion matters too. Your ability to keep going with wisdom and compassion matters too. And truly, when it all comes down to it, you are the only thing you can truly control. And I think this is where we have to stop acting like parents should be able to carry impossible loads with no support. You were never created to carry all of this alone. None of us were. Sometimes getting support looks like joining a coaching program. Sometimes it's like working with a counselor. Sometimes it looks like asking for help from family or friends, even if that's hard to do. Sometimes it looks like finding a doctor or a therapist who really understands your child's unique needs and to start asking those tough questions. Sometimes it looks like creating a better school plan. Sometimes it looks like taking a weekend away so you can breathe, rest, think, and remember that you matter and you are still in there. The point is not that there is one right answer for every family. The point is that support matters. And when you're parenting a child with big needs, support is not extra. It's essential. So here is your quick win for this week. I want you to take a few minutes and ask yourself this question. Where is our family paying hidden costs right now? And this isn't to shame yourself, not to panic, not to make a spreadsheet unless you really love spreadsheets, but simply to notice, Where are the costs showing up? Is it money? Is it time? Is it your health? Is it your marriage? Is it sibling dynamics, career decisions, social isolation? Is it the constant emotional energy of being the one who manages everything? Then I want you to ask one more question. What is one kind of support that could help reduce the cost we're carrying? Maybe it's asking someone to help with pickup once a week. Maybe it's setting up a meeting with the school, scheduling the appointment you've been putting off. Maybe it's having an honest conversation with your spouse about the load and the support you need. Maybe it's setting a boundary around an activity that is costing your family too much right now. Maybe it's looking into parent coaching, counseling, or the mom's retreat. Maybe it's simply telling someone, I need help. This is heavier than it looks. You do not have to solve everything this week. Just name one hidden cost and one possible support. That's it. Because sometimes change starts when we stop pretending that the cost is invisible. As we wrap up today, I want you to remember this. The hidden costs of parenting a neurodivergent child with ADHD, DMDD, autism, emotional dysregulation, meltdowns, or challenging behaviors, is very real. Some show up on paper. Some show up in the grocery bill, the broken items, the lost supplies, therapy costs, missed work, gas tank. Others show up in your relationships, your health, your social life, your career, the siblings of this child, and your emotional capacity. Naming those costs does not mean that you do not love your child. It does not mean you see your child as a problem. It surely doesn't mean you're just being negative, or even that you're anything less than grateful for the child you know you've been blessed with. It simply means you're telling the truth about what your family is carrying. And truth matters because truth helps us stop blaming ourselves and start looking for the support we need. If your family has been paying quietly in ways other people do not see, I want you to hear this. You are not weak. You're not failing, and you are not selfish for needing support. Investing in help for your child, your family, and yourself is not an extra. It may be part of creating more calm, more clarity, more connection, and more sustainability in your home. And if one of the supports your heart is asking for is space to breathe, I would just love to again invite you to take a look at the Calm Connection Moms Retreat, Finding Your Calm in the Chaos. Again, that's August 27th through the 31st in Loveland, Colorado. There are only 10 spots still open, and I truly do not want the mom who needs this to miss it because she talked herself out of receiving care. Early bird prices will be ending soon, so be sure to register as soon as possible. And again, you can learn more about that at calmconnectionparent.com/retreat 2026. Until next time, I encourage you to keep learning, keep loving, and keep looking for your calm in the chaos. You're not alone on this journey, and I'm here cheering you on every step of the way. That's it for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you take a quick minute to follow and share it with a friend who's looking for tools to parent those big emotions? And don't forget to join the Calm Connection Parenting Facebook group. This is where I can connect with you and offer support as you walk this journey. All right, I'll let you decide whether to fluff or fold that laundry now. But I'll meet you back here next week. Until then, keep calm and parent on.